Good afternoon and welcome to Central News. And this is the 71st episode. And today we're going to be focusing on student debt relief. And luckily, we are joined by Sihle Lonzi on the line. Good afternoon, Sihle.
A very good afternoon to you, Angel. Thank you for having us on the show, as well as thank you to your viewers and listeners at home.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Before we got into the conversation, we know that you've been doing a lot of media rounds. And how has it been? Isilungu siyaphuma mara.
Asikangishiyi, but I don't know how long it's going to last.
All right, today we are having an important topic, and for you sitting at home, this is an opportunity for you to gather all the information because I believe this is a movement that could change a lot of students, as well as parents being relieved due to the stress of not having to be there for their kids financially. Sihle, please just take us through the process of the student debt relief bill and how it started.
So last year on the 26th of November, we, the EFF, wrote to the Speaker of the National Assembly, so 26 November 2024, and we informed her of our intention to introduce a student debt cancellation bill. And then, of course, we would have then gone through a process engaging with the Parliament Legal Office and the Parliament drafters so that by the time our intention is gazetted, it must be able to meet all the constitutional standards as well as the legal standards. But the bill seeks to address two things. The first thing, the bill wants to clear student debt, and I think that one is explanatory because it's in the name. But the idea is that the universities must still get money because a lot of people seem to think that we are trying to bankrupt the institutions, which we are not proposing. What the bill proposes is that government must be able to take over that particular obligation so that we can have financial sustainability within our institutions. The second provision that the bill makes, it says that every student in South Africa, irrespective of whether or not they owe debt, every student must immediately receive all their degrees, all their certificates, and all their qualifications. And the simple case of the EFF to this effect is that let's assume the students wanted to pay the debt. How are these students going to pay the debt if you withhold their certificates and they are unable to go and look for jobs? So that is the case that we keep laboring. And our view was that we don't even know why government and the president, Cyril, must wait for the EFF to present a bill like this instead of just giving a declaration through the Minister of Higher Education and Training to say, just give the students their degrees. So that is the long and brief, rather long and short, intro and background towards how far we've gone and how we have arrived here today. So last week, Friday, officially, the bill was gazetted. It now means we have 30 days as South Africans from all walks of life who are inviting as the EFF to say that they must come contribute to the drafting of this legislation. They must email us in our email that we have opened, student debt cancellation bill at efffonline.org. And they must make inputs and also even assist us. We may not know everything in terms of how do we strengthen and make this bill, which must be voted by Parliament and signed by the President to become an act, to be more meaningful in changing the lives of young people in South Africa.
Well, there has been a lot of instances just yesterday in Bloemfontein at the Central University of Technology, we had students who were fighting for the same matter, as well as them getting their funds for this financial year. There's been reports as well that indicate that over 300,000 graduates are affected by unpaid fees. I wanted you, in a brief, to provide us with more insights into the scale of the student debt issue in South Africa and how it implicates the youth?
So you are very correct, Angel, in saying that in the immediate, there are over 300,000 students or young people in South Africa who have completed their academic requirements. In other words, these people have passed all the necessary courses, they've passed all the necessary modules, they've completed all the necessary stages in their academic career, and they've received all the credits which make them to qualify to graduate, to be graduates, or to be engineers, to be doctors, to be teachers, etc. Now, we are saying, why do you want to then withhold and almost imprison these young people when they've committed their academic requirements? Because we said as a society and the government that the doors of learning shall be open. And we said to young people must go to school. Now, young people have gone to school. Not only did they go to school, they've completed their studies. They've succeeded in their schooling careers. But what do? We then withhold their certificates, and now they are sitting at home with no hope of finding a job and progressing in their professional careers. So that bill seeks to achieve that, to say that in the immediate, we must be able to restore the dignity of 300,000 young people in South Africa immediately, as soon as, obviously it will be voted in parliament and then it must be signed by the president for it to be the act. So when president signs today, immediately tomorrow, 300 young people are going to be unleashed into the job market in South Africa, and they are going to be able to participate in the economy. And when they participate in the economy, in a way, they pay back this debt because they'll be receiving an income and they will have to then contribute through the tax system of South Africa. So we're saying don't curse these young people, in a life of permanent unemployability, in a life of depression, and in a life of poverty. Allow them to go and look for jobs, but they won't be able to look for jobs if you're going to imprison them because you don't want to give them their degrees and their certificates. So that is the just call that the EFF is making. And as I said, we're inviting everyone in South Africa, even people who disagree with the EFF. In one of the statements of the EFF, we said that this is a moment for us to put all our political differences aside, because this bill is not a bill for EFF members. It is a bill for all young people in South Africa. It is being introduced by the EFF, but it's going to impact all young people, even people that are not members of the EFF.
I love that you were able to mention that, and that drives us into the next conversation. The bill does propose that government intervention is needed to settle outstanding student debts. So now, how does the economic freedom fighters envision the process of the debt cancellation working, and which students would qualify for this relief?
Look, all students who have completed their academic requirements are going to qualify, because we don't see any reason to want to discriminate against someone who has finished their studies. If you have finished your studies, you have passed, you are supposed to be a doctor, you are supposed to be an engineer, you are supposed to be a teacher, you're supposed to be a lawyer or anything. Immediately this bill, when it kicks in as an act, it's going to be able to solve your problems. Now, the question that people then like to ask is, where is the money going to come from? And the reality is that, Angel, there is a lot of money in South Africa. But at a level of, from a point of view of public financing, what the Auditor General tells us every year is that there is too much irregular expenditure, wastage, and fraud and corruption that leads to financial leaks in our public spending. I mean, in October last year, for example, the Auditor General informed us I think in a meeting of appropriations, that there were more than 266 irregularities linked to fraud in South Africa. And then the number she actually gave us is that was approximately 14.3 billion rands. Now, when we last did our calculation for the number for how much it would cost to clear all student debt, we're looking at a figure of about 17 billion rands. So already you can see that there is 14 billion that we can actually tap into to resolve more than 70 to 80% of our problems. But above that, we've got we've got government departments that not only underspend, but even send money back to Treasury because they've not utilized it, which is crazy. And it is a practice that we're also seeing in institutions of higher learning, by the way. I mean, Wits University sent 420 million back to the National Student Financial Aid Scheme after SIU had investigated. University of Pretoria did the same, and many other institutions of higher learning across South Africa. So it shows you that we've got the money, but we're not utilizing and spending public money in a much more effective and an efficient way. I mean, the National Skills Fund, for example, in the last financial year, underspent by 3.8 billion rands. So you can already see that without even doing a lot, we've got deputy ministers in South Africa whose role we don't know. Like they don't speak even in committees. Even if the minister were to travel overseas, the deputy minister never becomes an acting minister. They've got absolutely no powers. The only thing they do is to travel around South Africa doing God knows what. So you'd also imagine that if the president were to cut all deputy ministers in South Africa, which is a call that the EFF has been making, already we're going to be able to tap into more funds that must be used at a much more effective and efficient way. So that's how the bill then seeks to address the issue of student debt. And also, those are the immediate number of young people who are going to be impacted by this particular bill when it is voted for and signed into law.
Right, so there has been a debate that says rather that the debt cancellation might encourage future non-payment. I mean, there's been movements like fees must fall that were for students. Could this be another initiative that could, okay, let me put it this way, could this be another initiative that could put students' lives in danger? Because we know that potentially if their needs are not met, they might opt for protesting, which mostly leads to violence. How are students' lives going to be protected within this movement?
Look, we make the point actually that the passing of a bill of this nature is what is going to help to stabilize our campuses across South Africa. Because as it stands, even without the bill being there, the students are protesting because they are unable to progress in their academic careers. Young people are out in the streets committing crime, smoking drugs and drinking alcohol, even those who are supposed to be working, because institutions of higher learning have withheld their degrees and they are unable to participate in the economy. So we make the argument that actually this bill that is being introduced by the EFF in Parliament is what is going to relieve a lot of young people in South Africa, and it's going to make them to focus on what is important and what is right, which must be happening. But as it stands, you are quite correct. When we don't resolve a lot of these issues which are surrounding funding for higher education, we then end up having a situation of our campuses being ungovernable. We have a situation of student protests. We have a situation of instability in institutions of higher learning. So we're resolving that. Yes, it may not necessarily be a free education discussion at this point, but we're of the view that these are the small gains that we keep making as we fight for the much broader struggle for that education must not be a privilege in South Africa. Education must be accessible to all of us, irrespective of our cultural background, irrespective of our economic background, and irrespective, our financial background.
Right, so in terms of the public as well as the government, how are they receiving the bill? Are they for the bill or are they against the bill?
So far, we've actually received quite positive responses on our email. As I had said before, we did make a call to all South Africans to send us email on student debt cancellation bill@efffonline.org. And we've been actually receiving a lot of support, not only from affected students, but even from professionals and academics who are actually saying, look, we're not EFF, but we want to contribute to this bill because we believe that it is an opportunity to change the lives of South Africans for generations to come. So we're going to be going around and we're going to have a very transparent process of going around meeting different stakeholders. You guys must not be surprised because we're going to meet everyone, even people that you'll be shocked to say, Evan, Mara, these ones, they are oil and water when it comes to them and the EFF.
Yeah.
But because we believe that this bill is bigger than any of our political, parties and egos and all of that, we believe that this bill, which is being sponsored by the EFF, has the potential to change the lives of many South Africans. So we're going to meet everyone, even those who disagree with us, by the way. We want to call on them to come. We want to meet them because in them disagreeing with us, they may actually help us to find a much more, better way of doing this bill. They might give us a point of view that we did not think about, and it may actually help in the strengthening of the, legal framework as well as the, the policy document of this particular bill. So we're calling on everyone to participate. We're calling on academics, on professors, vice chancellors, students, workers, everyone, civil society, NGOs. We want them to participate in this very historic moment, which is going to change the lives of young people in South Africa.
Yeah, ka Sesotho ho thwe kopano ke matla, and I do believe that if we all come together to make our country a better place, it actually would be a better place. Thank you so much for joining us. Any closing remarks on your side?
Look, I think the thing that I'm going to repeat is to say that we've got 30 days as South Africa. We're calling on everyone to come on board. We're calling on everyone to contribute in this particular process. We're calling on everyone to make their voices heard. We've also been receiving emails of students who are affected by this. So we're also calling on them because they will actually strengthen our case when we present it in Parliament. So we're making the call to all young people who have their degrees, certificates, and qualifications withheld by institutions of higher learning to please write to us on that email, student.cancellation@efffonline.org, so that we can be able to consolidate all of these cases and make a much better case in Parliament. But moreover, we are also calling on intellectuals, on social scientists, on academics, on workers, on teachers, on parents, even on churches and traditional leadership to come on board and help us to formulate this very progressive bill which must be law in South Africa. So we're making a clarion call as the EFF because, as I said, we believe that this is a moment for all of us to put our political differences aside and put the young people of South Africa first.
All right, thank you so much and all the best. I do hope that students, because this is about them, I do hope that they get the relief that they're hoping for. And this would make actually a big opportunity as well as creating job opportunities for students out there, because not getting your qualification could be one of the hurdles that stops us from working. So hopefully when this gets sorted out, we would have a lot of more students getting employment.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for having us on the show. And we look forward to meeting again sometime.
All right. Thank you so much.